regime, the vegetation is coming back, as it has for millions of years under this self-sustaining process.
Hopcraft believes that species diversity is the best way to maintain a healthy ecosystem, and his research shows that wild animals eat only the kind of plants best suited to their needs. As different species eat at different levels, their feeding puts less strain on the habitat. Where cattle once disrupted the ecosystem, the game is now assisting to re-establish the vegetational balance. The wild animals are resistant to most local diseases and unaffected by ticks, so they cost Hopcraft nothing to maintain. No dips, no vaccines, and no labor. Wild animals only drink a fraction of the water that was once needed by cattle, so there is now always enough water here for them. Most of the animals here have a higher reproductive rate than cattle, and so it has become essential that their numbers be kept in balance with the vegetation. The game is now regularly harvested to prevent overpopulation. This is the ranch's processing plant. The venison is being carefully inspected before leaving the ranch for a ready market in Nairobi. The incidence of diseased or substandard carcasses is a fraction of that once found in domestic stock, and lean game meat is devoid of saturated fats and unnatural chemicals. Scientific studies have shown that venison is healthier for human consumption than beef. Perhaps most important is the discovery that in times of drought, the general condition of wild animals is far superior to that of cattle.
Especially after this drought.
Hopcraft's ranch has demonstrated the feasibility of converting from cattle to wildlife ranching, and to date, it has proved to be an extraordinary success. In addition to creating a profitable game ranch, he has founded an important research center, assisted by the universities of Cornell and Alberta, as well as the Dutch Institute of Veterinary Medicine at Utrecht. It is hoped that this type of work will give Africa's people and the wild animals a better chance of surviving together in the future.
The wildlife system being used here is both workable and successful in practical and in economic terms. None of the veterinary and handling costs required for cattle apply, and we're already making more money than we've ever made with cattle. Vast areas of Africa could benefit from this system, and it could be the key to the survival of our most basic resource, productive land.
But for many people, the thought that wild animals may be ranched is still quite unacceptable. Every year, thousands of wildlife enthusiasts and would-be adventurers come to Africa to watch the marvelous wild animals. Already, many game reserves and the animals that live there are reliant on the tourists' money for their existence. As long as they keep coming, the animals are fairly safe. But if tourists stop coming, these game reserves can become an unaffordable luxury, and nothing stops tourism more effectively than civil unrest or war. As political conflict becomes increasingly common, more wilderness areas are lost forever. The question is now whether tourism can save these wilderness areas in the years that lie ahead. Most of Africa is now easily accessible by air. The airplane enables people to visit the remotest of areas in effortless comfort. The tourist is a very much prized animal, and they are the only species found in these parts able to pay their way with foreign currency. For many lucky people, their African adventure is undoubtedly the experience of a lifetime. But it is now becoming increasingly evident that tourism alone is not enough to guarantee the future of these wilderness areas. As the track record shows, neither tourism nor the conservationists and their vigorous lobbying on behalf of Africa's animals have been able to stem the destruction. There are many game parks that still flourish, and for the moment at least, the wilderness is safe. But for every successful game reserve, there are many others that fail as the wilderness becomes victim to growing human need. As more people are forced to find new avenues of escape from growing desertification, cattle are moved into game reserves. Domestic stock seasonally invade many of Africa's fabled national parks, often the last remaining areas that have grass. As herds pour into the parks, the competition for food intensifies and the vegetation disappears under the onslaught of too many hungry animals. In a matter of only a few weeks, there will not be sufficient grass left, and they will then be forced to move on. Here, in one of East Africa's renowned game